Questions without notice. Or any questions? The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question without notice is to the Prime Minister. I'd like to, if I may, Mr Speaker, preface my question by stating that the coalition parties welcome the Bogor Declaration, but that we would seek some clarification about its specific implications for Australia. I refer the Prime Minister to the fact that the Bogor Declaration commits the Australian market to be totally free of tariff and non-tariff barriers by 2010. Will all countries, including the European Union, have free access to the Australian market by 2010, or will the free market only apply to APEC countries? If the free market applies to all countries, will the government be demanding any concessions from the European Union in exchange for free access to the Australian market? Will the Prime Minister give a clear statement as to whether the market liberalisation provisions of the Bogor Declaration are discriminatory or non-discriminatory?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I'm pleased that the Leader of the Opposition has acknowledged the significance of what happened this week at Bogor. The National Party says to step forward. I thank him for that backhanded compliment. And the fact of the matter is that there is no way that at any other stage in our history Australia's had a permanent place at such a huge table as this. It's now part of a market in which the velocity of trade will increase. And not only, of course, is it got trade and investment implications, but it's got very clear, I think, good implications for peace and stability, because when one sees the relationships between people like President Clinton and Jiang Zemin from China well, the thing is, you've got to have something to offer to get a shirt, so that leaves you out. And the thing is, Mr Speaker, that the nature of these relationships, personal as they become, does automatically augur well for the fact that I think one is automatically lowering suspicions and potential hostility when people know each other so well. And I think that one of the things that surprised me in recent years is about, particularly in North Asia, the fact that people leading governments and belonging to assemblies and parliaments and diets and other representative bodies don't particularly know the other leaders of countries nearby all that well. And this is changing, I think, in this respect. So it was a huge event. And I think that, as I said at my press conference in Indonesia, it's the start of a Pacific century without any doubt. And as in terms of the improvements to opportunities for countries like Australia, which have not been easily part of any trading area, even though we've had in the past some benefits from so-called imperial preference with Britain. We've not been part of a trading area. We're not part of ASEAN, for instance. We're not part of NAFTA. We've basically been a single trader by ourselves, trading bilaterally with countries, so it's a great and significant change. Now, the Leader of the Opposition asked me about whether in the event that as APEC decides, and it has, to reduce trade protectionism and trade barriers, both tariff and non-tariff barriers, the benefits will be exclusive to the member states or extended to other countries. Well, this is one of the matters that will need to be considered in Japan and Osaka in 1995. And it's been one of the matters already being discussed by the Eminent Persons Group, ministers, APEC ministers and leaders. And there are differing opinions about it. I think Japan would take the view that it trades on an MFN basis and it would continue to want to. The United States normally takes the view that it's not about to give a preference to anybody without some reciprocity. But I think the Leader of the Opposition may know that under Chapter 24 of the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, in what then claims, that is, the nomination of the Free Trade Area, or an FTA as it's called, countries can agree unilaterally to extend the preference to third countries or maintain the preference within the Free Trade Area. Now, for instance, CER between Australia and New Zealand is a free trade area, and Australia could, if it wanted to, extend those preferences to another country. This is simply the case as well under a free trade agreement under Chapter 24 of the GATT. Well, you've probably never heard of Chapter 24 of the GATT. That's the point. I know this is all news to you. Well, let me just. Yeah.
Order. The Leader of the Opposition asked a very lengthy question.
Well, it's easy to give you patronising comments, I've got to say, Mr. Speaker, and therefore this question about discrimination, whether it is all black or all white, you know, this sort of question from the opposition, is it all black or all white? The answer is it's black, white, and greys. There are all sorts of colours in the thing because under a free trade agreement it's possible for countries, as I say, to preserve the preference or to extend it, to make it MFN or preferential. But these are matters which will properly be discussed by ministers and leaders at the next APEC leaders meeting in Japan, in Osaka, in 1995. And it's at that point that I think we'll get some definition on the issue. But of course, what it means, these are, given the fact that APEC counts for just on half the world's GDP and half the world's production, you're talking about a major change in the world trading system. So matters of preference and discrimination will not be decided lightly, and they'll be decided against a backdrop of much discussion, of course, over the next 12 months.
The honourable member for Moreton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.